Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up, National Food Buffer Stock Company is strategizing to increase financing for its operations as part of measures to stabilize food inflation. Meanwhile, food suppliers have spent another night at the premises of the Buffer Stock Company to demand payment of 273 million cedi debt owed them.
Come from the
Brong-Ahafo region.
Yes.
Okay. What are the challenges?
The delay in payments. The delay in payments. The payment is not coming. We supply maize since last year. They are not paying.
Also coming up, Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana expresses concern about the high cost of doing business, asking government and the Bank of Ghana to tackle high inflation.
There's no banking institution, for instance, that will like that they will be charging high interest rates. So if, there was economic prosperity, if inflation was very low and they were maintaining their margins while charging lower rates of interest on their loans whilst maintaining their smaller margins, that's what financial institutions generally expect.
Also ahead, Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry calls for more ambitious structural reforms to support businesses under an IMF program.
It is crucial that business operators are well informed about the IMF program and its implication for their operations. It is equally important for them to implement measures that can effectively mitigate the negative impact on our businesses.
My name is Daryl. Kwawu. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. Well, first up, the National Food Buffer Stock Company is strategizing to increase financing for its operations as part of measures to stabilize food inflation. Deputy Chief Executive Officer Kofi Amankwa believes the inability to increase its purchases in the bumper season for storage contributes to persistent rise in pricing. The company is already engaging government and other international bodies for the purpose. Anaya Ojima has more in the following report.
In May this year, food inflation stood at 51.8%, 3 percentage points higher than April. The rise influenced the increase in year-on-year inflation. Deputy Chief Executive Officer Kofi Amankwa believes the company, with the right resources, can help stabilize food inflation.
In the lean markets, prices, naturally, the tendency is for prices to go up. Yes, so what we would obviously do is release onto the market as a price stabilization mechanism. Unfortunately, we've had some challenges with the resources. We need to be able to have the resources to be able to buy in the harvests and seasons and store. Unfortunately, like I said, it's been quite a challenge.
By terms of establishment, the National Food Buffer Stock Company aims at stabilizing food pricing. It is mandated to buy food from farm gates in bumper harvest for storage and subsequent sale. The company is already exploring strategic partnership for the purpose.
Aside the technical support that we're receiving, we also be looking at government to give us more resources, and also the international organizations to also help us so that we have the resources to be able to buy and store, so that this price stabilization mechanism can be effective.
Meanwhile, under the sponsorship of the World Food Programme, technical staff of the company are being trained in the field. Ashanti Region Director of Food and Agriculture, John Menu, wants the company to tap into the anticipated gains of the second phase of the Planting for Food and Jobs program.
The PFJ 2.0 is not only targeting small-scale farmers, but big-time farmers, commercial farmers are also involved. So it means we are going to experience higher volumes of our produce, especially maize and rice. And we are saying that in that direction, NAFCO should position itself so that at the end of the day, they take advantage of the sub-regional market and be a conduit that can transport or export.
For JoyNews, Nana Ochima reporting.
Well, meantime, members of the National Food Suppliers Association have been demanding government pays 273 million cedi debt accrued since 2020. Members have spent another night at the premises of the National Food Buffer Stock Company, resolving never to leave until they are paid. Here's James Aveji's report.
A look at the time now. It's just a minute to 10 o'clock here at Cantonment, the premises of the Food Buffer Stock Company. As you can hear from the background, there are the singing of suppliers of food to the Buffer Stock Company, especially towards the free senior high school feeding program. They have been pitching camp here since Tuesday. They actually made a sleepover from Tuesday to Wednesday today, and the plan is to make another sleepover this Wednesday night to Thursday morning. Their call is that government owes them to the tune of some 270 million Ghana cedis in arrears for supplies they have made to the company between the period of 2021 and 2023 as we speak. Government is unable to clear those debts, and so to press home their issue, they have decided to pitch camp here until the last penny the government owes them is paid. What we know is that earlier today, Wednesday, 3 persons fell ill from spending their night here and have been rushed to the Cocoa Clinic. We'll be getting an update on that and more on this kind of picketing strategy they have adopted in order to get their money from government. So let's get inside now and have some interactions with them to know what their plans are towards tomorrow, Thursday. This is one of the people pitching camp here. Let's get to know him and get to know his personal story on why he's here. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Alaji Zakaria.
Which I'm told you are coming from different parts of the country. Which part of the country are you coming from?
Yes, I'm coming from BA.
The Brong-Ahafo region.
Yes.
Okay. What are the challenges?
The delay in payments. The delay in payments. The payment is not coming. We supply maize since last year. They are not paying us.
Paint a picture to us about your work. How often do you supply food to government? I'm sure you supply to the senior high schools.
Yes, please.
Okay. How often do you give them stock, and how is the payment schedule like?
Oh, it's upon demand. Beginning of the semester, then we supply to the schools. Then on our contract, they're supposed to pay us 90 days. Initially it was 60 days, came to 90. Then we were moving. At the time they were saying we even go up to 6 months before the payment start coming.
On one delivery, what's the worth of goods you deliver to the schools?
Oh, Bonafo like this, if you have to supply about almost 10,000 bags of maize has to go through the schools.
For the whole region?
For the whole region. All the 3 Bono region, we supply them with maize.
And that 10,000 bags of maize will be worth how much?
Oh, let's do some calculation here, because at the time we were supplying, a bag of maize was around 170, 150, depending on the. Then we just multiply the amount by the number of bags we supply at a go.
One police yaba, in police station. Be connected and one more job money ma. Me corner me by fear anyway so the milk. I know pa. Any easy my. Nti esen na kufuado. E pa na cho. Ohun ye mobo. Ye single parent. To me my numasa. Enkure gumi so na enya asam ketoa. Me ye den ma hwe nkura no. Kakra ya na me ye nkakra sa. Ma ho odi nyina be wura ase. Ti me sira no. Nyame amfa fie kura me dan kura no. then she better so me at on dana. Timisano, Nada room out here and car. Momo dear, no chair car. Na intimate quada catso. Na someone anode. And dear, a cow also crying say, there may come an another what say. Pa say, the empenning for na, or don't know, or matter to a jumacuana. Dan na unfair chile. Me who say, President no kuta adwen papa na emom ne mpanimfo na di achi no onhwe pa obesisam a onsisam na niema ekoso no enkoye ba kokora se bia we ni we bi wo issues bia na je se wo kwada we sise obi a ma afie omo ewo ya adwuma enipa omo ntem enkutade niema kitinkiti bia ekoso nti na masa ade we nyina ekoso nti yesere nana nimpanimfo no onfe ne ntofom na de twase obesesa wo monsesa wo.
Well, you had one of the suppliers there just to explain what she was saying. She's a single mom. The debts have incurred over the period. She doesn't know what to do. And this is just one of many stories. If you listen to the concerns of the food suppliers, I want to bring in Anthony Morrison, who is Chief Executive of the Agribusiness Chamber. Good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us. Your thoughts on what we are seeing unfold at the National Food and Buffer Stock Company as a food supplier spent another night there demanding payment of 273 million CD debt.
Yes. Daryl, thank you very much, and a very good afternoon to your cherished viewers. For me, it's such a very sad occasion to be seeing what is going on at the Buffer Stock Company. I think that for me, having looked at the mandate of the Buffer Stock Company and their objectives, over the years, this agency has fully not failed to live up to their mandate, but totally failed to also realize their objectives. If you look at their mandate, which is in their ally, it clearly states that they must guarantee an assured income to farmers by providing minimum guaranteed prices and ready market. Have they been able to succeed in this? No. Another mandate is to look at mop up excess produce from all farmers in order to reduce post-harvest losses. If you look at the post-harvest loss report we did this year, we're looking at over $5 billion of food losses alone in this country. So, I mean, look at the second one, to employ a buffer stock mechanism to ensure stability in demand and supply. That also they have failed woefully. And look at the objectives, to stabilize food grain supply and prices. Over the past 6 years, we have seen continuous increase. And in fact, the Ghana Statistical Service always look at the food inflation basket, and you see continuous food inflation, contributing majorly to the national inflation rate. So I think there is quite a lot of things to be done. It requires a major overhaul. The management of the Ghana buffer stock have to be, for me, overhauled. They need to be removed. They should step down. Whether we should look at a more inquiry into the government owing over 275 billion plus to the suppliers. All these things ought to be well interrogated, because food were produced in stock of buffer stock. If they were supplied, what is the payment terms? Management of such institutions are very strategic. As we speak as a country, we do not even have strategies or stock in there that in the likely event that there is any food challenge in this country, we can fall on buffer stock. It is totally failed agency. We do not need such strategic stock that is supposed to address our food security demand in this country be handled the way it is being handled. And I think that it also requires a major policy shift in our food production and our food storage. I remember 2 years ago, we worked on the West Africa food storage policy, We stated clearly that there were a lot of things that needs to be done. We need to look at harmonization of our food policy. We need to look at alignment of our food policy based on our country priorities. So those are the things that are affecting even our global food security index. So buffer stock is a critical organization towards addressing our food security challenges. And one of the areas for me that I think they have also flown with me is where buffer stock is supplying imported food to schools. You know, this can continue because that is where the taxpayers' money has been placed. And we demand a lot of the utmost responsibility and performance on that institution. And I think that the president will do this country a good service by allowing...
And we know the implications of this, like you point out, on food security, and also to mention the businesses as well, because this is a disincentive for anybody who wants to enter into agribusiness, knowing, seeing the situation.
I'll tell you one other thing. One of their mandates is also to support agro-processing for factories which otherwise are not able to secure enough raw materials to process. So you can also see that it does not only affect the general food security, but also of the agro-processing, and thereby are not able to also increase employment at the private sector level. So it's a major concern, and this should be a cause of worry to the financial institutions that are giving credit to farmers to farm, the aggregators who are taking money from the financial institutions to buy and mop up food from the farmers to supply to buffer stock onward supply to institutions. So the breakdown of that institution is a major challenge. It's a value chain activity. They are all on the table of buffer stock, and there is a lot of debt on that table.
Meantime, NAFCO says it is seeking financial aid to increase its purchases in the bumper season for storage in order to reduce rising food prices. Is that an effective way of tackling the soaring food prices? Did you hear me?
Well, yes, but yes, I can hear you. So you see, Daryl, the debt situation has to be sorted out first. You can't go looking for money to mop up food when you still have a chunk of your debt out there. Okay, are you now going to look for different people to supply you? We need to clear the debt first and reorganize that company to make that company productive, efficient, and in the delivery of food security to this country. That is the utmost responsibility, and it must be done.
All right, Anthony Morrison, thank you so much for your time. Chief Executive, the Agribusiness Chamber, calling for an overhaul of the National Food Buffer Stock Company. Well, let's turn to other news for you. The Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana has expressed concern about the high cost of doing business. The institute is asking government and the Bank of Ghana to beef up efforts in addressing the high inflation affecting the economy. According to its president, Dr. Daniel Kasati, the high cost of business is affecting players within the marketing space. He spoke to Joy Business at the media launch of the 34th Annual National Marketing Performance Awards of the Institute.
Is held to, among other things, create awareness about the relevance of marketing for the success of businesses, promote higher professional marketing standards among practitioners, and to also recognize organizations for showing resilience for the year under review. Dr. Kasati said the 34th edition of the award is to serve as a testament to the resilience, adaptability, and unwavering dedication of marketers in the country.
Yes, this year marks the 34th Annual National Marketing Performance Awards of the CIMG, and the question is, over the past 33 years, now the 34th year, what has changed? What has changed is the fact that the business environment has been different, at least for the past 3 years, and we expect that businesses cannot continue to run as they have always done in their business as usual mode. It is expected that businesses will have to find new ways, devise newer and sharper strategies to be able to overcome the numerous challenges we have faced in the global economy.
He urged the government to find diverse ways in addressing the challenges faced by many businesses in the country.
By virtue of the fact that last year, again, was particularly not a good one, we saw consistent rise in inflation. That definitely leads to the cost of running businesses going high. It makes life very difficult for business enterprises, because what it means is that you are either able to contain this cost or you pass it on to your consumers. Pass it on to your consumers, and then this will also lead to low demand for products and services, depending on the sector. Look, take banking, for example. If the cost of credit goes high, default rate goes high. Is that okay? So there is no banking institution, for instance, that will like that they will be charging high interest rates. So if there was economic prosperity, if inflation was very low and they were maintaining their margins while charging lower rates of interest on their loans whilst maintaining their smaller margins, that's what financial institutions generally expect.
Vice President for the Institute, Theodore Osei, said this year's awards cover 6 major competitive areas.
As we take delight in the successes achieved by our awards, I wish to boldly state that the CIMG takes pride in several landmark accomplishments which have greatly contributed towards improvements in organizational and professional performances, and especially so for practicing marketers.
The 34th CIMG Annual National Marketing Performance Award is under the theme Marketing, a Tool for Economic Recovery.
Now, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry says there is the need for the business community to be well informed and updated on the impact of the International Monetary Fund program. This, the Chamber says, will aid local businesses to be abreast of happenings to mitigate the negative impact of the program. According to the President, Clement Osei-Amako, there should be more ambitious structural reforms to support businesses. Here's more in this report by James Ishe.
The business community has been battling with high lending rate, utility tariff, inflation, and the introduction of new taxes. Meanwhile, the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry at its National Dialogue series described the impact of Ghana's IMF program as crucial to the growth of businesses in the country.
The recent press release by the Ghana Statistical Service also reveals a 2.4% increase in inflation rate from 41.2% in April 2023 to 42.2% in May 2023. Additionally, the Labour Statistics Report released by the Ghana Statistical Service this year highlights approximately 1.76 million individuals were unemployed in the third quarter of 2022. The report further indicates that the transition from informal employment to unemployment is on average 5 times more prevalent than the transition from formal employment to unemployment. This shows that workers are being laid off and the intensity is greater in the informal sector, which employs a greater percentage of the total labor force. The formal sector, on the other hand, is cutting down on production due to costly modalities of laying off workers in the formal sector.
President for the Chamber, Clement Osei-Amako, stressed on the need for government to cushion the sector in its quest to achieve macroeconomic stability.
The increased cost of doing business is also driving up inflation. These developments depict the hardship businesses are currently facing as a result of these measures. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, given the potential adverse consequences of these reforms on businesses, it is crucial that business operators are well informed about the IMF program and its implication for their operations. It is equally important for them to implement measures that can effectively mitigate the negative impact on our businesses. Hence, the Chamber has taken this initiative to organize this edition of the Chamber National Dialogue. Furthermore, the Chamber is earnestly committed to utilizing this dialogue as an advocacy platform to communicate the concerns of businesses to the government. In line with its mandate, the Chamber intends to actively pursue follow-ups with the government and relevant departments to ensure that these concerns are given urgent consideration, particularly during the upcoming mid-year budget review.
He maintained that government should address challenges with the independent power producers to save most businesses in the country.
With them, they are the independent power producers. And you know, the country cannot produce, have power on their own. So they are the one that augment and sell some to ECG. And what we have is that recently there have been some development that the government is owing them quite a long time, ECG, etc. And I believe that they also need to grow and pay part of their debt. And so since they are the main source of power to ECG and co, I believe that the government will have to sit down with them and make sure that they settle them at least some percentage. Unfortunately for us, yesterday there was a meeting that there was some agreement that the government was going to pay some percentage to them to sustain the electricity projects that we have in this country. We expect that now that we have met the IMF conditionality and we are seeing growth about 4.2% in the first quarter, we want to make sure that the government really look at the tax issue again, widen the tax bracket and taking away some unnecessary tax out of it. We keep on saying COVID tax in this country and in the rest of the world. If COVID is no more existing and the government still wants to take COVID tax from the industry that have suffered, they really suffered and they are still taking COVID tax from them. The government think that they need revenue. What at all was their constraint? That they would rather take the COVID tax from the people that have suffered or the industry that have suffered over the years because of COVID.
All right, and that's the marketplace. Before we go, just to take a look at what is trending on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. The top story there, successive governments have failed. They've treated various financial crises as temporal problems. That's according to the IEA. Also, on our news feed, we brought you that story this afternoon. CIMG launches 34th Marketing Performance Award. You can read all about that on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. You can do one more, Africa Air, to explore nuclear energy sources as Replanet launches essay competition. Read more on myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Daryl. Kwawu. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time tomorrow.